My younger sister is so obsessed with a domineering CEO novel that she has no intention of studying. She is determined to become someone like the female lead, to prevent her from going astray. I stayed up all night to finish reading the novel. As a result, I died suddenly and was reborn as the second male lead in the novel. In the book, the female lead, Amelia, has great design talent. She is hardworking and capable. Originally, if things developed according to this situation, she could become an independent and powerful female character. Unexpectedly, after meeting the male lead, because of her original family, she was touched by his crazy pursuit and decided to give up her career to cook for the male lead. I won't allow my sister to be poisoned by this kind of thinking. Not studying and only thinking about relying on others. Studying hard and shining on one's own is the truth. My sister wants to be someone like Amelia. If I can't change her, then I'll change Amelia. Currently, the plot has just started. The male lead, Theodore, is pursuing the female lead. Every day, he sends his assistant to send breakfast to Amelia without fail. Amelia has a pure appearance, and her romantic experience is like a blank sheet of paper. Because of her family, she has never been taken seriously. The education she received since childhood is that a woman's ultimate ending is to marry a good man. Influenced by her family, Amelia has always thought that finding a good man is her ultimate destination. Touched by Theodore's sudden show of kindness, she covered her mouth and was about to take it when I stopped her. Miss Amelia, this is the breakfast and roses that Mr. Theodore asked me to buy for you. Mateo flatteringly handed over the things. Amelia, don't eat takeout for breakfast. I made these dumplings myself. Try them. I confidently handed over the pink thermos. These dumplings were made using my 4-year experience at New Oriental. They can definitely easily outshine takeout. Thank you, Director. Amelia gratefully took it and left Mateo on the side. The next day, Lucas copied what I did. He went to a 5-star hotel to buy dumplings for Amelia and confidently brought them to the office. Ms. Amelia, the dumplings? Amelia, I cooked spaghetti today. You'll definitely like it. You had dumplings yesterday. Won't you get tired of having them again today? I said in a sarcastic tone. So, after intercepting Mateo's breakfast and flowers for a week, Theodore came to me. He kicked open the door of my office angrily. The black suit outlined his slender waist. It was the first time I saw a domineering CEO with broad shoulders and a narrow waist in a novel. I couldn't help thinking, this waist is really slender. Theodore looked angry. Henry, what's your intention of making breakfast for Amelia every day? The company clearly prohibits dating. Do you not want to work here anymore? I smiled and said, President, then what's your intention of asking someone to send breakfast to Amelia every day? Are you knowingly breaking the rules? Theodore was choked by me. Amelia doesn't eat, so the breakfast Mateo buys every day is wasted. It's a shame to waste. Then you just stop sending it. I suggested righteously. These words really angered Theodore. He picked up the thermos on my desk and wanted to smash it, but was stunned by my words. President, it's a shame to waste. Theodore stopped his action. He was holding my pink thermos, not knowing whether to put it down or throw it away. As a high IQ employee, one should learn to give the boss a way out. So I handed him a pair of chopsticks. How about having a taste? Theodore gave me a suspicious look and then turned around and took a bite. It's quite delicious. So, the domineering president actually stole my breakfast. Lucas had his quarterly bonus deducted. When he saw me in the company, his look was as if he wanted to kill me. Theodore stopped sending breakfast and started sending roses instead. After Lucas sent 520, 1,314, and 999 roses in a row, I called Amelia to my office and took out my trump card. Director, did you call me? Amelia, the roses these days are really beautiful. Do you like them? Director, do you like them? Amelia asked cautiously. I didn't answer. I pushed the flowers I bought on the table towards her and said earnestly, Amelia, what's the difference between the flowers I bought myself and the ones you receive? Amelia shook her head in confusion. I smiled and handed the flowers to her. The flowers we buy ourselves are just as beautiful. There's no need to wait for others to give them to us. As long as I have the ability, I can buy as many as I want. I don't know why, but I saw Amelia shiver and take the flowers nervously. Director, I understand. I then added, Amelia, I hope you can stand independently in the sun instead of being someone's accessory in the shadow of others. Amelia stopped in her tracks. Not long after she went out, she piled the roses Theodore gave her in my office and said timidly, Director, don't worry. I'll focus on my work. I nodded at her with relief and assigned her several more design projects. Since that day, Amelia started to avoid Theodore. Originally, I thought Theodore would stop, Unexpectedly, since he couldn't find Amelia in the company, he actually came directly to our department dinner. Theodore's sudden arrival made the whole party freeze. He cleared his throat and waved his hand. I'll pay for today's consumption. The department dinner is originally reimbursed by the company. I replied indifferently. Theodore coughed twice and sat down next to Amelia. At this time, Amelia was sitting in the middle. Theodore and I were on her left and right respectively. Neither of us would give in. Our eyes met and there were sparks flying. Amelia was sitting there uneasily. I knew it must be Theodore who made her uncomfortable. Director, maybe I should sit over there. You sit here. It's him who should leave. Theodore and I said in unison. After glaring at each other, the two of us snorted and turned our heads away. At this moment, Amelia was even more embarrassed. Fortunately, the game of truth or dare saved this awkward situation. Due to the leading Lady Aura, the first person the bottle pointed to was Amelia, and she immediately chose truth. Amelia, what kind of boys do you like? Amelia blushed. I like boys with a sense of masculinity. As soon as she finished speaking, Theodore suddenly stood up. He walked to Amelia's side and said, "Sorry for the intrusion." With a scream, Amelia was picked up horizontally by Theodore. Immediately afterwards, a more strange thing happened. Theodore carried Amelia and started doing squats, seemingly trying to prove his masculinity. I was stunned. What was going on? After Theodore did dozens of squats, he didn't forget to look back at me provocatively. Could I bear this? So I also walked over and whispered, "Sorry for the intrusion." I picked up Theodore, who had been looking so proud just now, and started doing squats myself. At first, Theodore looked terrified and tried to break free from my arms, but since he had challenged my male dignity, how could I let him break free? I jolted Theodore up and down in my arms and said in a low voice, "Hold on tight so you don't fall." In the end, Theodore was defeated. His eyes flickered, and he turned his head away to hide his embarrassment. His handsome face was slightly red, and one of his hands grabbed my tie, almost strangling me. "Henry, you're really crazy." After being put down, the president's face looked worse and worse. Amelia beside me looked at me with an excited look as if she had witnessed a great shift. I shook my head. I must have drunk too much. In the end, I wasn't drunk, but Theodore got completely drunk. When it was time to leave, everyone in the department looked at each other in dismay and made all sorts of excuses to leave. In the end, only Amelia and I were left. Amelia stammered, "Director, how about, according to the plot, Amelia is beautiful and kind-hearted. She would surely send the drunk and lonely CEO home, and then something might accidentally happen between them. All my previous efforts would go to waste." I shouted, "You don't need to do it." Amelia gave an embarrassed smile and said, "What I meant was, how about you send the CEO back? My home is a bit far away." I nodded gratefully and watched her leave. This female lead is so sensible. She even knows how to give me an excuse to save face. 1 second I was happy about the female lead's sensibility, and the next second I regretted my choice. That bastard Theodore was acting drunk and he was getting fresh with me. Am I good looking? When Theodore asked me in his incredibly charming bubble-like voice, I actually blushed. Seeing that I didn't answer, he became more forceful. He grabbed my face and asked me again, "Am I good looking?" "Yes, you are." I answered involuntarily. When I was forced to look up and our eyes met, for a moment, I was a bit lost. Theodore is really a seductive demon. I couldn't help but shout in my heart, "Brother, although we are both men, but I'm a man, and I'm into men." Then, why didn't Amelia even look at me once the whole night today? Why were her eyes always on you? After Theodore said that, he brought his mouth close to my ear, and his warm breath sprayed on my ear. I shifted my gaze guiltily and didn't dare to look at him. But under his repeated questioning, I said, "Then do you think I'm good looking?" Hearing this, Theodore looked contemptuous, but still seriously leaned close to my face and looked at it again and again. Then he reached out and touched my eyebrows, nose bridge, and then my lips, and then objectively evaluated. "You seem to be quite good looking too, but why do we both look good? Yet she doesn't like me." Theodore asked again. This time I was cornered by him. My cheeks were flushed, my heart was pounding like a drum, and I pushed Theodore away. He looked hurt and asked aggrievedly, Don't you like me either?" I blushed even more, lowered my head, and whispered, "I do like you." I seemed to have a premonition that Theodore would get even closer the next second. I closed my eyes and gave him a warning in advance. "Theodore, if you keep seducing me like this, don't blame me for what happens later." But what I expected didn't happen. A wretch in the toilet pulled my thoughts back. "Hey, are you okay?" I shouted while patting the toilet door. No response. "Hey, Theodore, are you okay?" No response. Could something have happened to Theodore? I quickly pushed the door open and went in. As soon as I entered the toilet, I was stunned. Theodore was standing under the shower, with his shirt half unbuttoned, revealing his well-built chest. The water dripped down his firm muscles. My gaze stopped on his pectoral muscles. I thought I might be about to lose control. Theodore saw me come in, stopped his movement in midair, and looked at me with a mischievous smile on his face. Well, isn't your brother's figure better than yours? This is simply blatant seduction. I swallowed hard, pretended to be calm, gritted my teeth, and grabbed the towel next to me to wrap him up completely. When I was leaving, I still heard Theodore whining that he hated me. It doesn't matter that he hates me. I quite like him. Theodore seemed to remember everything about that night. Since then, he never lingered in our department again, and Amelia's work got on track. I arranged a lot of opportunities for her and often gave her pointers. Her progress was incredibly rapid. She became a full-time designer in just 2 months. Just when I thought the plan was about to succeed, Lucas came again and brought an evening dress and jewelry for Amelia. Thunder roared in my heart. How could I forget that in the novel? Amelia and Theodore's first kiss was at this banquet. Because the power suddenly went out at the banquet, Theodore actually stole a kiss from Amelia. I can't stand it. Absolutely not. In the novel, this plot is a major turning point in their relationship. What are you doing in our department again? I vented all my anger on Mateo. This whole company belongs to the president. Can you control what the president asks me to do? Mateo looked arrogant. I snatched the jewelry from Amelia's hand. As soon as I opened it, the sparkle of the diamonds almost blinded my eyes. Amelia, since it's from the president, you might as well accept it. When you earn your own money, you can buy better ones. Amelia nodded. Amelia, you have to stay by my side all night tonight. Never leave my side. I told Amelia while having a subtle conversation with other bosses. Yes, I made thorough preparations. I had the hotel check the circuits in advance and kept Amelia by my side, away from Theodore, but the lights still went dim. I immediately shouted at Amelia, Amelia, hide behind me. But the next second, I felt a tingle on my lips, followed by the scent of pinewood. It was Theodore. I stared with wide eyes, and my heart skipped a beat. The next second, I involuntarily reached out and wrapped my arms around his neck. Am I playing with fire? Yes, because at this moment, he didn't seem satisfied with just the surface and tried to break through my defenses. I felt his palm slowly moving along my back. Wait a minute, we weren't at that stage yet, so I opened my mouth and bit his lips. A strong rusty taste spread in my mouth. Theodore's hiss in the darkness was especially clear. When the lights came back on, Theodore had disappeared. I spat on the ground and cursed. Beast! Fortunately, Amelia was okay. Just treat what happened just now as a passionate encounter. I slept very well that night. On the other hand, Theodore tossed and turned and couldn't fall asleep. He rubbed his lips, savoring the kiss in the darkness, and couldn't fall asleep for a long time. As soon as I entered the department in the morning, I saw Theodore standing at the door holding a big bunch of roses, looking just like a peacock showing off its feathers. When I saw the wound on his lips, I couldn't help rolling my eyes. As soon as Amelia appeared, without Theodore saying a word, Mateo, this good dog, started to give a hand. President, these 314 roses are so beautiful. Who is so lucky to receive the roses you sent personally? These are for the little kitten that secretly bit me yesterday. Theodore's voice had a bubbly tone as he held out the roses in front of Amelia. Amelia was a bit at a loss and shook her head like a rattle. President, I don't understand what you're saying. I didn't see any kitten yesterday either. Theodore. Amelia, don't be nervous. I don't mean to blame you. I think that little wildcat last night was quite cute. Amelia became even more scared and turned to look at me for help. I straightened my tie and strode towards them. I tilted my head and made a fist with my right hand and held it up to my cheek. Meow. President, are you looking for me? Theodore was stunned and his face suddenly changed. He pointed at the wound on his lip and then turned to look at Amelia. Was it really not you yesterday? Amelia. No, President. The little wildcat you're looking for is here. These roses. Theodore's eyes were bloodshot. His fingers were tightly clenched into fists, and his knuckles cracked. His voice seemed to be roared out. Henry, you pervert. Before I could finish speaking, Theodore threw the roses at me. The sharp thorns grazed my face and a bloodstain immediately oozed out. Amelia said worriedly, Director, are you okay? For the first time, I really made Theodore extremely angry, but I felt quite pleased in my heart. What's a little wound on the face? Unexpectedly, 1 second I was gloating, and the next second, the HR department slapped a cold dismissal notice on my face. I rushed straight to the top floor angrily, with Mateo looking shocked. I kicked open the door of Theodore's office and slapped the dismissal notice on his desk. Theodore, if you're sick, take your medicine. Go have your tantrum by yourself. Why did you fire me for no reason? He said calmly, you have a lack of virtue and are unworthy of your position. The company doesn't keep idle people. Theodore, so you're so petty? You kissed me and I didn't even get angry. What are you so mad about? You. Theodore gritted his back teeth, with veins popping out on his forehead. Name your price. How can you leave Amelia? I immediately understood. So it was still because of the female lead. I said indignantly, unless you let me kiss you back. Theodore's face darkened even more. Henry, don't go too far. If you dare to get close to Amelia again, be careful, I'll beat you up. I pressed forward step by step, and Theodore retreated steadily until his waist leaned against the desk. I stared directly into his eyes. If you get close to Amelia again, be careful, I'll take you down. My hand accidentally pressed on Theodore's chest. His body temperature was transmitted to my hand through the thin shirt, and I felt Theodore's wildly beating heart. Henry, this is harassment. A blush crept up Theodore's earlobes as he stammered. I patted his shoulder. President, there's no need to hang yourself on Amelia. How about considering me? I won't go near Amelia in the future. Theodore said in a flurry, holding up a finger. 1 million. I'll give you 1 million as compensation. You leave the company. And also, stay away from me. I actually encountered such a stroke of luck as having a pie fall from the sky. I picked up my index finger and gently touched his fingertip. It's a deal. When I was leaving, I blew a flying kiss to the president. Theodore's face turned as red as a cooked shrimp, and his look at me was extremely complicated. In order to conveniently observe the male and female lead's every move, as a millionaire, I casually found a job in the same building as the company. Unexpectedly, by a strange twist of fate, I joined the company of William, Theodore's arch enemy, and became the new design director. Theodore didn't know where he got the news. He came to my company every other day, and his eyes were almost glued to me. He claimed it was for mutual learning. What the hell could a listed group learn from William's small studio? I suspected that Theodore had ulterior motives towards me, but I had no evidence. So, on a sunny morning, the moment Theodore stepped into the company again, I leaned against the door and stared at him, greeting him warmly. Mr. Theodore, you come to my company more times a week than our boss. Don't tell me you've fallen in love with me? Theodore was startled and slipped on his feet. He almost fell. After leaving a remark of, "You're so conceited," he steadied himself by holding onto the wall and then turned around and left. Since William paid me 3 times my original salary, I felt guilty. So I worked overtime desperately while keeping an eye on Amelia's progress. Unexpectedly, there were 2 pieces of good news. Sure enough, Theodore kept his promise and didn't get close to Amelia again. And with my efforts, William's company, which was on the verge of bankruptcy, was revitalized because of my new design. As soon as the product was launched, it became a huge hit, directly overshadowing the star product of Theodore's company and becoming extremely popular for a while. For the first time, William defeated Theodore. He gave me a 6-figure bonus. I was still feeling self-satisfied, but unexpectedly, Theodore came to me again. As soon as he came, the female colleagues in the office were in an uproar. William turned a blind eye and regarded Theodore as spiritual food to motivate the employees. Unfortunately, it was tough on me. As soon as Theodore came, William disappeared. As the design director second only to the boss in the company, I had to shoulder the task of entertaining Theodore. He wasn't picky. A cup of instant coffee or a can of Schausno lemon tea could make him sit here for an afternoon. He didn't do anything else. He just liked to sit there and stare at me, which made my hair stand on end. But every time I asked him if he liked me, he would start changing the topic and praise the coffee for being delicious. I couldn't bear it anymore and directly told the boss that if he let Theodore in again, I would quit. Since then, Theodore was blocked outside the door by the access control and never came to our company again. But I always felt that there was a pair of eyes staring at me. Actually, apart from Theodore being good looking, I and the boss could also cause a stir in the company. Every time I discussed the design plan with William, there would always be a few female colleagues secretly sizing up Theodore through the glass, with pink bubbles in their eyes, pointing at the design draft. I was a bit hesitant and said, "Boss, what do you think?" William looked at the design draft in front of me and then examined the one in front of him. He said seriously with a straight face, "I've thought about it for a long time. I still like your design." As soon as he finished speaking, there came a strange scream from the office door. The last sentence was drowned out by the screams of the female colleagues. Because of their behavior, William thought he was very handsome. He even tossed his head when walking. When he went out, he stepped on a banana peel and fell flat on his face. William was afraid of losing face, so he secretly asked me to go to his office every day to rub medicinal wine on him. Every time I came out of the office, my colleagues always looked at me with a bit of ambiguity. Somehow, this matter reached Theodore's ears. At this time, I still didn't know that a storm was coming. "Henry, come to my office for a moment." William raised his eyebrows at me. It was time to rub medicinal wine on him again every day. I reached out and pushed William. "Bend your waist a little more. I can't exert force like this." William wailed, "No, I'm in too much pain." I grabbed his collar and pushed him onto the table, then began to give a considerate suggestion. "How about lying on the table?" William stuck out his butt and turned his head to confirm again and again. "All right, but you have to promise to be gentle. These 2 days, I've been rubbing medicinal wine on William, and I'm almost developing my biceps." I picked up the medicinal wine and hadn't even started rubbing when William began to cry out, "No, Henry, be gentle." "Ah, I'm about to die. Bear with it. It'll be over soon." I was a bit impatient and increased the force. William's wails came one after another. "I can't stand it. It hurts so much. Be gentle. If you keep doing this, I won't like you anymore." But I hadn't finished rubbing when suddenly there was a commotion at the door. "Mr. Theodore, our boss is busy. Come back another time." Immediately afterwards came Theodore's icy voice. "Are you deaf? Didn't you hear William moaning inside? Is he with Henry?" "I heard, but you still have to wait," Theodore raged. "Wait for what? Wait while he seduces my boyfriend? If I wait any longer, my boyfriend will run off with someone else." With a bang, the office door was kicked open. William was lying on the table, sticking his butt out, and he and I both turned our heads to look at Theodore. Regardless of the injury on his waist, he supported his waist and shouted angrily, "Theodore, you're crazy. I'm just applying some medicated oil and you have to come in and watch. Pay up. You must pay up." With a cold face, Theodore pushed William, who was standing next to me, further away. He took out a check and scribbled a few zeros on it. Then he flung the check in front of William. "I'll pay for the door and your medical expenses. Now, get out of here." I have to admit that at this moment, he was really handsome. "Okay, take your time. Stay here as long as you like." William got up from the table and left the office with a big smile. Before leaving, he didn't forget to tell me, "Henry, serve Mr. Theodore well." I had a cold look on my face. "That 1 million isn't for me. You go and I'll go too. Make room for Mr. Theodore." Theodore turned his head. With a gloomy face, "Henry, stop right there. Mr. Theodore, aren't you here to find your boyfriend? Why do you want me to stay?" I turned my head, looked into Theodore's eyes, winked provocatively, and specifically emphasized the word boyfriend. "Well, you heard wrong. What I just said was, that friend," Theodore explained. At this point, he still wouldn't admit it. I rolled my eyes. "Oh, what does it matter to me? I'm leaving first." Seeing Theodore's face getting uglier and uglier, I felt really good. "Henry, don't go. I'll give you 1 million too." Theodore grabbed my arm. "No pains, no gains. What's the purpose of giving me 1 million? To be your boyfriend?" I deliberately elongated my voice and looked at Theodore in an ambiguous tone. Theodore's ears gradually turned red, and his thin lips were tightly pursed. "This 1 million is for you to go back to the company to work, all right?" Still not admitting it, I immediately got angry inside and rolled my eyes at him. "There are still many young hunks in our company waiting for me. I can't bear to leave them. I don't like a boss who says one thing and means another. It's either you or me." In the past, when reading CEO novels, I always thought the CEOs were written too God-like, but I was wrong. I was still spouting off in front of Theodore yesterday, and today he has acquired our company. William is a typical fence sitter. He actually sent me to Theodore's office as a beauty. "It's either you or me." Theodore had an expression of having me in his grasp, waiting for me to bow to him. I directly threw the company access card in front of him. "William asked me to bring it here. From now on, you Mr. Theodore can enter and leave our company freely. Henry, don't forget I'm your boss. Watch your attitude." Theodore started to put on airs. I was driven to desperation. "If you have the guts, fire me." Then, I was transferred to the personnel department. I was very angry, but I'm here to influence the female lead. No matter how angry I am, I still didn't forget to drop by to see Amelia. After not seeing each other for several days, Amelia finally has the feeling of a great female lead in the process of struggling. Pale-faced, with heavy dark circles under her eyes and messy hair, I nodded in satisfaction. As soon as Amelia saw me, tears welled up in her eyes immediately. "Director, you're so competitive. I was completely confused. After Amelia's long complaint, I just found out that when I was crazily designing because I felt sorry for the salary William paid me, Amelia happened to be promoted to the chief designer due to the staff vacancy caused by my departure. She has almost lived in the company during this period. Looking at her haggard face, I patted her on the back and comforted her. Amelia, congratulations. Amelia was stunned. Now, don't you have to worry about your monthly living expenses and rent anymore? Amelia nodded. Now, don't you have more opportunities to express your own ideas and be more yourself? Amelia nodded again. Now, don't you enjoy the achievements brought by your work and are no longer just the design assistant or the woman the president likes in others' mouths? Finally, Amelia seemed to understand what I said and looked at me with a smile. Director, I understand. In the past, I could only prove my existence from others' mouths. But now I'm Amelia, an independent designer who can convey my own ideas. I don't know why, but at this moment, I, a grown man, actually felt like crying. Amelia is truly the leading lady. She's not only outstandingly hard-working but also smart. Unlike my sister, who wouldn't listen to me no matter what and even made me travel through time. Since Amelia has been influenced by me and the task is completed, then, can I have a sweet relationship now? Just as I was thinking, Amelia tilted her head and asked me, Director, did you come to see the boss today and then drop by to see me? I nodded without thinking. Amelia immediately showed an expression of I guessed right, I knew it. Since Lucas started bringing breakfast here, I knew you were jealous. Amelia looked a bit aggrieved. At that time, you even called me to your office and implied that the flowers from the boss were only for you and I only deserved a cactus. Amelia continued to pour out her grievances. Also, on the day of the party, when you were doing squats while holding the president, your eyes were full of love. Did something happen between you two after you sent the president home that night? No. No. I waved my hands in a hurry to deny it, and my face blushed to the ears. Really not. Amelia had a skeptical look on her face, as if to say, don't try to deceive me. Amelia looked disappointed. What a pity. I can tell that the president likes you. I immediately became interested. What do you mean by that? Amelia told me all about Theodore asking Lucas to investigate my whereabouts, canceling the cooperation just to come to my company, and sending a new employee from the company to keep an eye on me. I was so angry that I laughed. Theodore, you've done everything, but you just don't know how to say you like me, right? If you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. As soon as I got to the personnel department, I started my first recruitment looking for a partner for myself. The requirements are a man over 8 meters tall, with 8-pack abs, and a mouth to talk. Once the news was released, caused a sensation in the company. The threshold of my office was trampled flat, and many colleagues sent me their resumes. The first person who came surprised me. It was actually Lucas, who was always by the president's side. He shyly handed over his resume and winked at me. Mr. Henry, I didn't expect that we have the same hobby. Looking at Lucas's flirting, I couldn't help feeling disgusted and threw the resume out without even looking at it. Sorry, you don't meet the basic requirements. The shy young subordinate blushed and said, Director, I've liked you since I joined the company, but I was afraid you wouldn't take a fancy to me. I've been secretly paying attention to you for a long time. Finally, I have the chance to say it today. I hope the director can give me this opportunity. I nodded and took the resume. Tell me about your advantages in competing for this position. I'm 8 meters tall, have 8-pack abs, can cook, and I'm very obedient. I nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. Go back and wait for the notice. Next one. While nodding and organizing, I reached out to take the next person's resume. But after I got the resume, the person held on to it. I looked up impatiently and saw Theodore standing in front of me with a gloomy face. He turned to look at the people in the queue and said angrily, All of you, go back to work. If anyone dares to participate in this kind of boring interview again, I'll really fire you and let you go out for real job interviews. As soon as he finished speaking, the queuing crowd quickly dispersed. Theodore looked at me and snorted. I didn't expect you to be quite charming. Oh, I sneered. Thank you for the compliment. I wonder what brings the CEO here. Theodore's face suddenly turned red. He turned his head somewhat nervously and handed over the piece of paper in his hand, saying, I'm here for an interview. What? I almost choked on my saliva. I looked at him in shock and said, What did you say? Did I hear you correctly? Theodore's face turned even redder. I'm here for an interview, he said. My heart started beating faster. I pretended to be calm and said, Well, tell me about your advantages. I'm 188 centimeters tall, have an 8-pack, and I'm rich. I shook my head. So, Theodore visibly panicked. He stammered, I'm also good in bed. A blush suddenly rose on his face and quickly spread to his ears. What good is it that you're good in bed? I'm the one on top. I pointed upwards. Theodore stared at me with wide, open eyes. His face turned even redder. Let's discuss this later. You should focus on your work first. Theodore seemed to be afraid that I would arrange more interview candidates. After we went back, he sent me back to the design department. Back in the design department, I was even happier. This was like my kingdom. William was having so much fun every day, screening high-quality boys for me. How about this one? He excitedly nudged me and pointed at the young man in the photo. His looks, figure, personality, and conditions are all top-notch. I think you can give this one a try first. I glanced at it and said unenthusiastically, let me think about it. I'll take a look around. Come on. How about this one then? He's 188 centimeters tall, has an 8-pack, is rich, and is good in bed. William whispered the last sentence in my ear. I replied without hesitation. This one can be considered. William grinned and leaned towards me. Caught you. Come on, be honest. Do you like the CEO? I gave William a disdainful look and said crossly, so what if I do? You're Mr. Theodore is full of tricks, but he just won't say he likes me. Is that all? William slapped his chest and promised. You follow my arrangement, and I guarantee that Mr. Theodore will confess his love to you right away. Really? I was skeptical. William nodded affirmatively, picked up the phone on the table, dialed a series of numbers, listened while looking at me. Hello, this is Henry speaking. Congratulations on passing the first interview. Do you have time tonight to have a more in-depth chat with Henry? I didn't know what was said on the other end of the line, but William looked confident. Who did you call? William said mysteriously. You'll know later. What should I do? I asked. William just lay on the chair with his feet propped on the table. Just wait. I had no choice but to give it a try. Soon, Theodore came in angrily. William immediately stood up, greeted with a flattering look, and then slipped away. Henry, I don't care how intimate you are with William in private, but the company is a public place. Please pay attention to your behavior. Theodore's words were full of jealousy, and his tone was extremely sour. I raised my eyebrows and looked nonchalant. Mr. Theodore, you don't have to worry. William and I are just ordinary friends. Theodore frowned. Just ordinary friends? What else could it be? I retorted. How could ordinary friends be so close? I smiled and walked towards Theodore step by step, reached out to pull his tie, gently brushed my lips against his cheek, and whispered in his ear word by word, Mr. Theodore, this is what real intimacy is. As soon as I let go, Theodore staggered back a few steps and almost fell. I laughed even more heartily. He was stunned at first, then the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly, and his ears seemed to turn pink. Theodore scanned the surroundings and finally fixed his gaze on my face, with a dangerous glint in his eyes. Before he could say a word, a young hunk suddenly appeared at the door. Excuse me for interrupting. May I ask if you're done? I've made a dinner appointment with Mr. Henry. I was just about to agree and slip away when I looked up and met Theodore's eyes. Theodore had a gloomy face, and the fire in his eyes was burning more and more fiercely. He's not available. The young hunk looked at him in confusion, then at me, looking utterly bewildered. May I ask how much longer it will take? I can wait. He's made an appointment with me. He's not available. Not today. Not in the future either. Theodore's tone was full of hostility. The young hunk's face turned awkward, and he said sheepishly, what right do you have to monopolize Henry? We're all in the second round. There should be fair competition. Theodore gave him a menacing glare, then strode up to me. Henry, I like you. I don't mind being the submissive one. Will you be with me? The hot breath he exhaled when speaking made me tremble all over. So the domineering CEO is really that domineering? Theodore's arm tightly wrapped around my waist, trapping me firmly in his embrace. A deep voice sounded in my ear. Didn't you say you wanted me? When? His breath tickled my neck, and the itchy feeling made me shiver involuntarily. My face was so red that it was almost bleeding. The young hunk was stunned. My head buzzed, and my mind went blank. Soon, I regained my composure. A smile spread across my lips as I pulled Theodore's hand and walked outside. Now. Immediately. Right away. But the girl was in a bad mood when she saw the original story of the domineering CEO chasing his wife turn into a story of the female protagonist's career promotion and the male protagonist being chased. With a thud, she threw the book into the trash can, then picked it up again. I asked in confusion, why did you throw it away and then pick it up? My sister gave me a disdainful look and said, I'll keep it to remind myself. I'm going to study hard like the female protagonist and focus on building my own business. Shaking her head, she opened the book and started studying. Money is your own. Don't always think about giving up your career to be a rich man's wife. In the end, you'll just become someone else's appendage and even forget your own name. A mechanical voice sounded in my head, mission completed. I nodded with a smile and turned to leave. But then I heard my sister muttering. As the female protagonist, she even let the second male lead steal her man. I've never seen such a thing. I staggered a bit and said, well, it can't really be called stealing. Suddenly, my sister stared at me sharply and said, brother, you look so much like that annoying Henry in the book. What are you talking nonsense about? I replied guiltily. My sister was still muttering to herself. Do you think Theodore really has such a slender waist? I cleared my throat and said, not only is it slender, but it's also quite strong. After saying that, I quickly slipped away. When I got back to my room and opened the door, Theodore was lying on the bed, propping his head up with one hand. The collar of his shirt was slightly open, revealing his well-defined collarbone and strong muscles. I swallowed hard, and my heart was pounding. When Theodore saw me come back, he smiled and said in a lazy voice, how about I take the lead today?